Ever feel like you're drowning in to-dos?
Yeah.
Like your to-do list is just a mile long.
Mhm.
Or maybe for you, it's more like a product backlog.
Huh.
Just a million features swirling around in your head. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
where do I even start?
Exactly.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. A way to bring a little sanity to that chaos.
Right.
Using something called a utility function. Now,
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of like something you'd need a PhD for,
Right.
but stick with me here. It's actually a surprisingly simple mental model
Yeah.
that can really level up your decision-making,
Absolutely.
whether you're launching a rocket or just deciding what to have for dinner. What's so interesting about a utility function, I think?
It helps you cut through the noise
Yeah.
and really zero in on what matters most,
Wow.
especially when you're feeling overwhelmed by choices. It's like
Yeah.
this secret weapon against decision fatigue.
It is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not even the amount of work. It's just the sheer number of options. So
Total.
walk us through this. What is a utility function in plain English?
So essentially, it's a way to score your options
Okay.
based on a set of criteria that you personally define. Let's say, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you're choosing between two project management apps.
Okay.
You might consider things like the cost,
Right.
ease of use, integration with other tools, customer support,
Uh-huh.
maybe even how aesthetically pleasing the interface is.
And some people might be willing to pay a premium
Right, for sure.
for that beautiful interface.
Yeah.
While others just want that pure functionality.
Absolutely. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it, is that it accounts for those individual preferences.
Okay.
You're basically creating a custom scoring system that reflects your unique priorities.
Okay, so how do we actually build one of these things?
Yeah.
Is it as simple as just like listing out the criteria and then slapping some random numbers on there?
Not quite. There's a bit more strategy involved.
Oh.
The first step is to be really specific about your criteria. So instead of just saying cost,
Okay.
you might break it down into monthly subscription fee,
Mhm.
cost of additional users,
Okay.
potential training costs,
Right.
and so on. The more granular you are,
Yeah.
the more accurate your scoring will be.
It's like when you're buying a car
Exactly.
and then suddenly you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I got to factor in fuel efficiency,
Yep.
safety features,
Mm-hmm.
resale value.
Totally.
I mean, it can get,
Gets pretty detailed.
yeah,
Precisely. And once you have that solid list of criteria,
yeah.
the next step is to assign weights to each one.
Okay.
This is where you really start to personalize the system.
Gotcha.
If you're a startup on a tight budget,
Mm-hmm.
cost might be your top priority.
Right.
But if you're a large company with deep pockets,
Uh-huh.
you might prioritize features or customer support over cost.
So if cost is a make or break factor for me,
Yeah.
I might give it a higher weight than, say, the aesthetic appeal of the app.
Exactly. You're essentially saying this criterion is twice as important to me as that one.
Gotcha.
The most common way to do this is to assign numerical weights
Okay.
that all add up to 1. So if cost is your biggest concern, you might give it a weight of 0.5,
Okay.
while other factors like ease of use and features might get weights of 0.2 and 0.3.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all comes together.
Yeah.
We define our criteria.
Right.
We assign the weights to reflect our priorities.
Exactly.
And then what?
Then comes the fun part,
Okay.
scoring. You take each option, in our case, the project management apps,
Okay.
and you give it a score for each criterion based on available data or your best judgment.
So for ease of use,
Yeah.
I might look at user reviews or watch some demo videos,
Absolutely.
even try a free trial
Yeah.
just to get a feel for the interface.
Exactly. The key is to be as objective as possible
Okay.
and base your scores on concrete evidence. And remember, it's perfectly fine to use a combination of hard data and your own assessment,
Good.
especially when dealing with things like aesthetics or brand reputation.
This is making so much sense. It's like taking all these swirling thoughts in my head
Yeah,
and putting them into a neat spreadsheet.
that's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And once you have all your scores,
Yeah.
you simply multiply each score by its corresponding weight, add them all up, and voila,
Okay.
you have a utility score for each option.
So the app with the highest utility score
Yes.
wins.
It's the winner. Yeah. It's like a ranking system for your decisions.
It is.
Precisely. But the real magic isn't even in the math.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the process. By going through these steps,
Right.
you're forced to think critically
Yeah.
about what truly matters to you
Okay.
and make a conscious decision
Right.
based on your own defined criteria.
It's like taking the emotion out of it
It is.
and letting the logic lead the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that can be incredibly empowering,
Right.
especially when you're dealing with these complex or high-stakes decisions.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So now let's talk about how this plays out,
Right.
in a real-world scenario.
Okay.
Imagine you're leading a product team and you're facing that classic dilemma.
Uh-huh.
Backlog is bursting with ideas,
Yep.
but you got limited resources.
Oh, the prioritization struggle. Been there.
Right.
Felt that. It's like staring into the abyss.
It is possibilities.
It is. And so where does a utility function fit into this picture?
Yeah.
It can be your guiding light.
Okay.
It's a way to bring some objectivity
Mm-hmm.
to a process that can often feel very subjective,
Right.
even arbitrary at times. So you start by gathering your team,
Okay.
engineers, designers, product marketers,
Right. Get all those perspectives.
anyone who has a stake
Yeah. We got to get rid of the blind spots.
in the product success. And together,
Yeah.
you define those key criteria we've been talking about.
But don't just fall back on the usual suspects like revenue and cost.
Uh-huh.
Push yourselves to consider things like customer impact.
Oh.
How much value will this feature actually deliver to our users?
Right.
And strategic alignment.
Gotcha.
Does this feature really fit with our long-term vision for the product?
So we're not just crunching the numbers.
Yeah,
We're really taking a look at the big picture
exactly.
and the human element.
It's like looking at the forest, not just the trees.
Yeah, I like that.
And here's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Even if two teams are using the same criteria,
Mm-hmm.
their weighting might be completely different,
Oh, interesting.
depending on their specific context and goals.
So a company that's really hyper-focused on growth
Yeah,
might place a heavier weight on features that drive user acquisition,
exactly.
whereas a company that's prioritizing customer retention
Right.
might emphasize the features that improve user experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Satisfaction.
And those weights are crucial because they essentially determine the voting power
Gotcha.
of each criterion in that final decision.
Okay, so let's say we've nailed down our criteria.
Yes.
We've assigned the weights.
Right.
How do we actually put this utility function into action?
Now you need a clear scoring system
Okay.
for each criterion. Maybe it's a simple 1 to 5 scale,
Mm-hmm.
or perhaps you base it on specific metrics like estimated revenue or customer satisfaction scores.
Okay.
The key is to make it as data-driven and objective as possible.
So for something like customer impact,
Yeah.
we could look at data from user surveys
Uh-huh.
or analyze feedback on existing features.
Right.
We could even track support tickets
Absolutely.
that are related to a specific pain point.
Exactly. And if you don't have access to hard data for a particular criterion,
Right.
you can always make informed estimates.
Okay.
But be sure to document your reasoning
Yeah. Transparency is key.
so you can defend your choices and ensure transparency throughout the process.
Right. Because especially if you're working on a team,
Absolutely.
everybody's got to understand how the sausage is made, so to speak.
Absolutely. Now, once you've scored each feature across all of your criteria,
Yep.
you simply multiply those scores by their corresponding weights.
Uh-huh.
Add them up.
Okay.
That gives you your final utility score for each feature.
And then we rank those scores from highest to lowest.
Yes.
Boom, we got our prioritized list.
It's like magic, but with math.
It is like magic with math.
It's not magic, it's structured decision-making.
There we go.
But it can feel pretty satisfying
It does.
to see all that complexity distilled down into a clear, actionable roadmap.
And it takes the guesswork out of it.
Exactly.
Takes the emotion out of it.
No more endless debates or
Mhm.
relying solely on gut feelings.
It's like we're focusing on these features because the data tells us they're the most impactful.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Aligned with our strategic goals.
I love it. Brings clarity and purpose to what can sometimes feel like chaos.
It does.
So we've laid out the steps.
Yeah.
But, what about some real-world examples?
Yeah.
Are there companies out there successfully using this approach?
There are many.
Okay.
One that stands out is a software company that was struggling to prioritize features for their flagship product.
Okay.
They were drowning in ideas, but their development cycles were constantly getting derailed
Yeah.
by shifting priorities and internal disagreements.
Sounds like a recipe for frustration and burnout.
It was. But once they implemented a utility function,
Okay.
things started to shift. They defined criteria that were directly tied to their business goals,
Oh?
such as increasing user engagement, boosting customer lifetime value,
Wow.
and reducing churn.
So they really focused on those metrics.
Exactly. They gathered data from a variety of sources: user analytics,
Okay.
customer feedback surveys, market research reports,
Wow, the whole 9 yards.
and they used that data to score each feature idea. against their chosen criteria.
So they were bringing all those puzzle pieces together
Exactly.
to form a clear picture.
And the results were pretty remarkable.
Okay.
They were able to significantly reduce their decision-making time,
Wow.
improve their development velocity,
Yeah.
and ultimately launch features that resonated more deeply with their target audience.
It's a testament to that structured approach.
It is.
Sometimes all you need is a framework
Yeah.
to help make sense of the chaos.
And the beauty of the utility function is that it's not limited to product development.
Right.
You can apply this framework to any decision where you're weighing multiple options
Okay.
against a set of criteria.
So I could use this to choose between job offers,
Absolutely.
decide where to move, to
Yeah.
even pick a vacation destination.
Absolutely. It's all about defining what matters most to you,
Okay.
and then finding a way to quantify those preferences in a way that guides your decision.
My mind is a little bit blown right now.
Good?
I'm seeing utility functions everywhere. But before we get carried away,
Yes.
let's talk about those potential challenges,
Yeah.
like data availability and weighting bias.
Right.
How do we navigate those tricky waters?
That's where critical thinking comes in,
Okay.
and a healthy dose of self-awareness.
Hmm.
No utility function is perfect. You're
Yeah.
always going to be working with incomplete data
Sure.
and the potential for unconscious bias.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's an iterative process.
Exactly.
You got to refine it.
You build your function, you test it out in the real world,
Yep.
you gather feedback, and you refine it as needed. It's like a continuous improvement loop.
It's like that saying, plans are nothing, planning is everything.
Well said.
It's the process that matters.
And that flexibility is key.
Yeah.
Because it allows the utility function to evolve along with your changing needs and priorities.
Right, because what might be a top priority today
Right.
might be less important tomorrow.
Exactly. It's like that old adage, the only constant is change.
Yep.
And a good utility function should be able to adapt to that change.
It should.
Precisely. It's not about finding the perfect answer, but rather creating a framework for making more intentional data-informed decisions,
Yeah.
even in the face of uncertainty and complexity.
I like that. So we've defined what a utility function is.
Yes.
We've walked through how to build one,
Right.
looked at some real-world examples.
Yes.
We even tackled those potential challenges.
And most importantly,
Yep.
we've highlighted how this approach can empower anyone,
Right.
from CEOs to stay-at-home parents,
Yeah.
to make smarter, more confident choices.
I think it's time to shift gears
Okay.
and move into that final phase of our deep dive. We spent this deep dive really exploring these utility functions, but now it's time to bring it all home.
Yeah, let's connect this back to, your everyday life.
Oh.
Think about how often you feel pulled in a million different directions.
Oh, yeah.
Work deadlines, family commitments,
Yeah.
personal goals. It's like everybody wants a piece of you, and you're just like, ugh.
And it's easy to lose sight of what
Wow.
truly matters.
Right.
And that's where the power of this framework, I think, really shines.
Yeah.
It helps you to consciously decide where to focus your energy.
Right.
Instead of just reacting to whatever fire is burning the brightest at that moment.
So instead of being a slave to my inbox
Yeah.
or my to-do list,
Exactly.
I can choose how I spend my time based on my values and goals.
Exactly. Imagine applying this approach to something as simple as planning your week.
Okay.
You could list out all of your potential activities, work projects, social events, exercise, downtime, and score them
Right.
based on criteria like personal fulfillment,
Okay.
energy levels, and even how much joy they bring you.
I'm already feeling less stressed.
Right.
But what about the bigger decisions?
Yeah.
The ones that really keep you up at night?
The same principles apply just on a larger scale.
Okay.
Let's say you're considering a career change.
You could use a utility function to weigh the pros and cons of different options.
Right.
Factoring in things like salary, work-life balance,
Uh-huh.
potential for growth and alignment with your passions.
It's like having a compass
It is.
to guide you
That's a great way to put it.
through those big decisions.
And the beauty of it is that it's a living, breathing tool.
Okay.
As you learn and grow, your priorities might shift.
Right.
And that's perfectly okay.
That's true.
You just revisit your criteria,
Yeah.
adjust your weights, and recalculate your scores.
So it's not about finding the right answer.
Right.
It's about having that process
Yes, it's about developing a process.
for making choices as things change.
You're making more conscious choices,
Right.
even as life throws you those curveballs.
You take some of the pressure off
It does.
because you have that system in place.
Exactly. It's not about achieving perfection. It's about making the best possible decision
Right.
with the information you have at the time.
I like that a lot. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with a challenge.
Yes. Think about one area of your life
Okay.
where you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed by choices.
Well.
It could be a work project, a personal dilemma, even just figuring out how to structure your day
Right.
for maximum productivity and happiness.
Okay.
Now, take a moment to define what truly matters to you in this situation.
Okay.
What are your non-negotiables?
Right.
What are you willing to compromise on?
Gotcha.
Grab a pen and paper or open up a spreadsheet
Okay.
and start sketching out your own utility function.
Right.
List your criteria, assign weights to each one, and see what insights emerge.
So simple, but so powerful.
You might be surprised by how this simple exercise can bring clarity to your thinking and help you move forward with confidence.
He can.
Remember, you are the architect of your own choices.
Love that.
And with a utility function as your guide, you can navigate the complexities of life with intention and purpose.
And on that note, that wraps up this deep dive into utility functions.
Deep dive.
Until next time.